Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Go check out my website at skyazrael.com if you're interested in life coaching or mentoring. Let's get into today's topic. Get some water. I want to talk about limitations. The limitations that we put upon ourselves. Not the limitations that are external. Your so-called obstacles. And there are very real obstacles. Some of them are real and some of them are perceived. I don't want to talk about the limitations that the world puts upon us or that people put upon us or society. I want to talk about the limitations that we put upon ourselves. For some reason, and I don't know why we do this. Some of us have a play it safe attitude that holds us back too much. We're not enough risk takers. Some people are too much risk takers. They're idiots. You ever met an idiot? I had a buddy of mine who used to do this kind of jackass type of stunts. And he knew those guys. He was friends with those dudes. And he would jump off buildings. He jumped off, it was a 3-story apartment building into a little swimming pool. Swimming pool the fucking size of the throw rug I have in my living room here. And he'd just go sailing off into it, head first, bam. No problem, gets up. Some people are too much risk takers. But we put limitations upon ourselves very often and hold ourselves back in life. Hold ourselves back from our opportunities, from our greatness. Hold ourselves back from strength. We can hold ourselves back from getting over addiction, from getting over past trauma, keeping ourselves weak for some reason. And it's interesting how we do this. We limit ourselves. We can put ourselves in a box and stay there and complain about that box for the rest of our lives. Everybody else could walk around us and just be like, all you have to do is make a choice. And sometimes we start blaming other people. That's where this weird game of limitations gets confusing to people, because they start thinking that the limitations they put upon themselves is what the world is putting upon them. What a crazy game we're playing with ourselves. What are some limitations we put on ourselves? Here's a big one. I've been thinking about this one lately, is age. Age is a big limitation that we put on ourselves. Getting older, being old, this feeling old, this concept of, well, I'm old now. I look in the mirror, I got gray hair. I must be old now. I don't really get up all up on this camera. I got wrinkles in between all my scars. I'm old now. I was looking at pictures from the past. I shared a couple of them with my mother, sent them to her on an email, because we email back and forth. And she replied on one of them. I must have been 28. And she was like, you don't even look like that no more. That don't even look like you. We change. And we get old and we can't stop it. Age is a big limitation. When we start looking at it as a barrier to being functional or to being happy or to doing the things that we want. A lot of times people say, well, I can't get that job, or I couldn't switch careers, I couldn't follow that path because I'm too old. And they'll stay in some crappy job, and it's like, well, geez, I mean, you may work for another 25 years until you retire, another 30 or 40 years if you choose not to retire, and you're going to hold yourself back for another 40 years? I know a guy who's 5 years younger than me, and he's kind of coming to a head with his industry. I won't get into it. I mentioned going back to school, and he firmly said, like a trade school or some shit. There's a good trade school in town. And he firmly said, I'm not going to learn anything new. He was like, I'm 46 years old. I know everything I'm going to know. You think you know everything at 46, motherfucker? We put these limitations upon ourselves. We decide that we're old. I've seen this for my whole life. And I'm just being honest with you guys. I've seen this shit. Motherfuckers decide that they're old. I'm old now. I'm an old man now. I catch myself saying this shit too. And every time I say it, it's a limitation. Oh, I can't lift that. I'm old now. I can't do that. I'm old now. That woman wouldn't be interested in me. I'm too old. I caught myself saying that. It's always a limitation. Unless you're intentionally trying to weasel your way out of doing something, you don't want to go chop wood, then you can be like, well, I'm too old, and there you go, it worked to your benefit. But I don't think this statement, this declaration of I'm old now is beneficial in any way, unless you're a weasel. So I think we should stop saying it. What people say, what you say is important. How you describe yourself. It's such an interesting thing because, sure, there's ego, and we can describe ourselves in fantastic ways and put on fronts, but there's this weird membrane that can easily be punctured where we start believing how we describe ourselves. So it's important to be honest and to describe ourselves in a proper way. And you start describing yourself in a way that makes you weaker. Like Jordan Peterson says, and I forget the exact quote, but he said something to the effect of, I refuse to say anything that makes me feel weaker. That's a great fucking statement. I refuse to say anything that makes me feel weaker. We say things that make ourselves feel inadequate, lesser than. Lesser than. This decision that I'm old now makes you feel less strong, less capable, less pretty. Women go through this. Look at Madonna. Oh God, I saw a picture of her on my Facebook feed. She looked like a mutant. I didn't recognize her. If it didn't say Madonna, I would have had no clue that was her. And she's just plastic surgery, just too much. It's this need to stay young. And I understand for women, gosh, there's a lot of pressure. And as we get older, you can feel like you're insignificant. You're no longer desirable, pushed aside, marginalized. I can see all that. But a lot of it is a mentality. And every time I've seen people say this, and I've said it myself, where we make these statements of I'm old now, it's like it just sucks the life out of you. You get older. So I'm not trying to say lie to yourself and say, well, I'm young. And you're a 90-year-old guy going around saying I'm young. You're at strip clubs with strippers on your lap, and you got a gold tooth grill and, spinning rims on your wheelchair, and you're like, I'm young, I'm young. I'm not saying to do that, although that might be cool. It's good to be mature and to be wise and to embrace age as an era of wisdom, an era of growth. You don't stop growing. You think a tree just stops growing? There's all kinds of growth. There's inner growth. As you get older, you should look at it as a badge of honor instead of a curse. You're going to spend more than half your life being old. So let's just cut it there, because I have a whole list of other limitations, but I went 10 minutes on one, so I'll have to make a couple more videos on limitations that we put upon ourselves. Thanks for watching.